Okay, so when we're recording a mic, it's just like any other mic, even though it's for an acoustic guitar. We're going to set up an audio track. We're going to set it to our input, which is DI. And it is mono because it's a mic. It's going to go to our guitar bus. And we're going to call it Acoustic Mic. And we're going to add the track. Okay, and now we will set the color. It's already in the folder by this. It's set to record enable. So if we press the monitor button here, we can see it come through when we play through the mic. But we're not going to monitor through that because we're going to hear it through our audio interface. And we're pretty much ready to go. So we're going to do, we're going to do a take now without any treatment, and then we'll come back and do our treatment and plug our DI in as well. All right, so I am going to put my headphones on and we're going to start recording. All right, so there is a take without any treatment. So now let's set up and put some treatment on. So I'll just put the guitar down for a minute. Okay, so now this may block off the camera, so this is going to be interesting how we do this. Now, normally what I would recommend is a proper ISO type thing, shielding, whatever else. I don't usually record much with microphones, so I just hacked up this bit of foam here, put a slit down the middle here, and put some like ribbon or something on it, and it just allows me to place it over the stand like so. I'll put the ribbon over the mic, that helps, like so. Now usually I do a better job of this, but you know, so it just sort of sits like that. We tuck the string over the mic. I'll have to turn it around to show you how it looks, but it sort of ends up like so, right? Not the best looking thing, and maybe not the best performing thing, but it still has the theory of stopping sound going through, past and out, right? Now, again, it's pretty cheap, but my needs are pretty simple in this regard. I don't record acoustic guitar or vocals, etc. very often, so I don't usually need it. So, how are we going to place this and not look silly? Well, we can't. Basically, you're just going to have to trust what I'm doing because I can't place it any other way. Now, the other thing I have is, let's move that guitar. I have these gobos. They are insulating foam in panels that I made on wheels. So I can place them behind me or around here, for instance, to stop any reflections going around. So I've got two of them, so I can sort of put them behind me here, tuck myself in so that I am nice and isolated. Right, so you're not gonna see a great deal, unfortunately, but we're gonna try our best to record this. So there's a mic here. There's some insulation panels around me here to block sound going through. And hopefully that's going to do something constructive. Now what we're going to do is we're going to record our take, but we're going to save some time. We're going to record our final take, which is going to be the microphone on one track and the DI on the other. So we need to plug our DI in. Okay, and we're going to plug that actually into input 1 this time because I have the mic already set up for input 2. Okay, so I'm just going to set up this first. We're just going to set up this first channel for the DI. So I'm just going to have a listen through my headphones. Okay, we're going to set a new version on both of them. Now, we're going to set the input to mic 1, which is actually the DI now, sorry. I mean, the naming's all stuffed, but it is what it is. Okay, so the labels on our audio interface are actually backwards the way I've got it plugged in. I've got the mic in DI and I've got the DI in mic. Okay, but if you just realize that, that is fine. Okay, so we are all set up. We are ready to go. And now I'm going to record and we'll get an example of the treatment, which we'll compare in a minute. And we'll record hopefully our full take. haven't got a part for the bridge yet, so we're going to skip that. All right, so there you go. That is my take of DI and acoustic guitar. Now, what I'll most likely do is I'll duplicate both of those tracks and do another pass through. But I'll also need to work out a bridge part. But I'm going to do that all off camera because you don't need to see me play the whole thing again. I'm just going to basically do exactly the same pass again. And because there's going to be micro discrepancies, or in my case, maybe macro discrepancies, it'll allow us to get a stereo effect because the performance is not going to be exactly the same. But we're going to do that now, and then I'll come back after I've done that and I will show you just editing and show you some of the examples, etc., of what we've done, and just wrap this acoustic guitar recording part up. Okay, now that we've recorded all our bits, let's run through a couple of examples here. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to flick between the DI recording and the mic, just for an example here. Okay, so here's our DI. We'll just get it to a midpoint. Now switch to our mic. Let's check if that's a good one. Hang on. Back to our DI. So you can hear there the DI has a lot of sort of clarity, crispness to it. It's very direct, but it can also sound a little bit unnatural to a point, whereas the acoustic sounds very natural, but it's also, in this case, a little bit dark, a little bit distant sounding. So hopefully the purpose is if we put the two together, theory is if we go across to our mixer window here, we could actually blend the two together to get the sound we want. So Let's assume that our mic is the one we want the most of. Let's just say we like that the best. Now we want to add in so that's without the DI, that's just the mic. Well, that's just the DI, sounds very thin. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good example of why a lot of people do both DI and microphone, because it gives us some options there of blending the two together to get a better sound. Now, as for the microphone with or without treatment, that is a good question. So this is the one without treatment. Let's try something here. Let's try adding some compression. And we'll see what that actually does for us. So if we add a bit of compression. Okay, so we'll see what happens when we switch between the two with the compression on. So this is without treatment. For me, I don't know if it's just a trick of the mind, but number 2, which is the one with treatment, it sounds tighter. It sounds just a little bit more, it even sounds a bit more fuller, to be honest. It could be that I got closer to the mic as well. I can hear a lot of sort of standing waves with this one. It's sort of, there's some things ringing out that's not very pleasant. They're a bit more contained in this one. sounds drier to me and a little more controlled. Again, it could be my imagination. It could be just me wanting to hear the difference. It's not massive difference, but it is there. Okay, so I'd still suggest doing the treatment if you can. All right, so I've gone ahead and edited the acoustic a bit. Not majorly, just edited a few big errors sort of thing, you know, where I missed a chord or hit a bad note or something like that. But I haven't like gone over it like really severely, you know, not to perfection type thing. I'm keeping it fairly natural. So we've got 4 recordings now. We've got 2 DIs and 2 mics. Okay, so the DI and mic of each one are a pair. Okay, they actually play like exactly the same thing. So if we find a spot, these 2 go together. And then these 2 go together. Now, obviously they sound very dry, right? The plan is that when we get into mixing, we're going to add reverb and things like that to add some life. So if we mix the 4 together just straight as is, it doesn't sound really interesting. It just gets louder. Nothing wrong with it, but let's go over to our mixer here and let's take one channel for the moment. Let's take all the way to the left. So we want to do the DI and mic, the pairs together. We'll go left and right, and then we'll listen again. And we might need to balance a little bit. This sounds a little bit heavier. We can compare our bus where it's joined together to see if one side's higher than the other more consistently. So we can do that because we recorded 2 parts. Now, I'm going to give you an example here because you might just say, well, why can't I just duplicate these 2? Because I, recorded the same part. Or why can't I even just pan these 2? Well, let's try it. So they're not panned at the moment. Well, sorry, they're panned left. I'll put them back to the center. So how does it sound if we pan them separately? Okay, we need to balance them because okay, so it works. So if you want to do that, that works. The reason I don't is because I like to get a uniform sound between these 2, right? So just trying to get it back to roughly where it was. I like to have these sounding combined to get the best sound. So the other option is you might say, well, can't we just duplicate these 2 tracks and pan the other one to the other side? Well, let's have a look. So we've duplicated them. Now we'll start. So if we pan them to the right, it sounds mono. to me, it sounds mono, and I can easily show you that by, we'll leave this first pair to the left, this second pair's to the right, and our second take that we originally recorded is to the right. So this is our duplicates. So if we take them away, let's just put this in center. This is what it sounds like with the two tracks just mono. Now put them left, add in the rights. It just sounds like a louder version of the center mono. Now we'll add the other two instead. Take them away, add them in. Okay, stereo. Now, if you're wearing headphones right now, you'll get the most obvious representation. Go back. That's why I don't advise duplicating, because the only way to get the duplicate to sound stereo would be that we have to now go and put a delay effect in, or we need to just nudge the audio slightly out of whack with it to get it to become stereo, but it just doesn't sound as good. It never does. So do the two takes. You'll much prefer it. So let's just remove those two because we don't want them. So now we've got our stereo. Now, because we've got our electric guitar so wide, what I would probably do is pan these in a little bit. So let's say about 50. So it's not so wide. Now, this is a mixing decision though. So really, I probably shouldn't be even bothering with this right now, but I'm just showing you for the recording purposes of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, so we're not as wide now. So let's unmute them. Sorry, let's unsolo them. Let's take them out of our mix and just do an example now of, we'll play the mix without the acoustics. Now I'm going to adjust the volumes. So I'm just pushing it into the background for the moment because, again, it's going to be a mixing thing. That's where we're going to really make our decisions here. So I think we're going to, let's do a playthrough of the entire song now just to show, because we've got a lot of acoustic added in here. Just so you can get a feel. Let me just shrink this down a little bit. All right, so we'll do a playthrough here and then we'll be on to our next recording mission. All right, so now that you have watched me do the process, hopefully you understand what's going to happen. And if you are planning on recording acoustic guitar, go to the PDF, get the worksheet, write down what parts you need to create for your song, and then document as you go which ones you have completed and where they are and what stage. If you do have any questions about the process or anything we've covered here for acoustic guitar, please feel free to put it in the comments. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.